Am I the asshole here for not wanting my mother-in-law's help once the baby arrives? I, 34 female, entered the relationship with one child, 16 male, while my husband, 37 male, has no children. After several attempts with extensive genetic testing, we are finally pregnant with a healthy baby girl. Initially, when my mother-in-law asked to plan the baby shower, I agreed, and it seemed like a no-brainer, especially since we've gotten along well for the last 12 years. I'm currently pursuing my BA in psychology, and when my mother-in-law began to plan the baby shower, I was too busy with work and school to really participate. I told my husband that I was getting overwhelmed, and he told her to wait until our semester ended to begin planning. She did not listen and continued to call me, bombarding me with her desires. Every time I attempted to give my input, she would shoot my ideas down, prompting me to have a separate baby shower for just my family. When the semester ended, my husband asked if we could just have one baby shower and that his mum would be flexible to the changes that I want. I hesitantly agreed, which was probably one of the worst decisions I've made. Did I forget to mention that this is my mother-in-law's first grandchild? So now that the planning process is underway, I noticed that my mother-in-law had not actually planned a baby shower, but a backyard reveal. She didn't invite anyone from my generation, refused to allow children to attend, ordered catered food that I cannot eat, and did not buy any decorations. Oh, that sounds lovely. She sounds sane and cool. All she did was landscape her backyard. When I expressed my concerns to my husband, he spoke with his mum, and she pretended to agree with what I want, but secretly had her own vision all the while. Yesterday, she asked me to come over and give my input on where to put stuff, and when I was there, she blatantly ignored everything I wanted. I expressed that it felt less about the baby shower and more about her showing off her yard, and that my feelings were getting hurt. She straight up told me that she didn't care and would not accommodate my wishes. What a fucking asshole. I don't care. I'm not gonna accommodate your wishes. I don't care. That's so funny. When I spoke to my husband about it, he immediately took her side, and I just hated his mum and wanted to take the shine away from her. Oh no, you're having a child with this man. No. He went on and on about how she had helped us over the years, and how I sounded ungrateful, ignoring all that I have done for her in return over the years. I proclaimed that I love his mum and that this occasion should not be about her. It should be about us having a baby. After 45 minutes of arguing and crying, he eventually came around and agreed to speak to her for me, but the damage had already been done. I now feel like he'll always take her side over mine, and am rethinking allowing her to help with the baby altogether. Meanwhile, he keeps pushing her on me. I asked him if he was ready to stay in the hospital with me for 3 to 5 days after the C-section, and he caught me totally off guard by saying, why can't his mum and my sister take a day? When I expressed that I don't want visitors before the baby is fully vaccinated, he said he wants to accept all the help he could, and that I was sounding crazy for not wanting help during my time off from work. I told him that I do want help, but from him, and didn't want to be pawned off on his family. I am now 34 weeks pregnant and am more stressed than I could have imagined, on top of feeling betrayed by my husband. I cannot shake the feeling that if I allow her to watch the baby, she will not follow any rules that I have in place. So am I the asshole here for no longer wanting her to help with the baby after she's born? In the comments, Churros Potatoes says, not the asshole. They've never done anything that you actually wanted. You've had a kid before, you know the game plan. You know that these people will not be helping you. You need to have a sit-down discussion with husband. Whose kid is this again? His mum's or yours? He needs to stand by you, not by his mum. Also, security is pretty good at the hospitals. It'll keep anyone that you don't want there out. Use them. And also congratulations, and try not to stress too much. Scarlett Mae West says, not the asshole. Love my husband, but he was too eager to please his parents for way too long. His parents despised me. They didn't want me pregnant, thus proof we were having sex, but damned if mother-in-law did not want to come help us when the baby was born. He invited her without telling me beforehand. I was less than pleased. It was hell. She could not stop with outdated advice. However, I was not willing to play nice, and mother-in-law did not get to hold the baby until the night before she left. Husband learned his lesson for baby too. Your husband seriously needs to understand that your pregnant ass is more important than his poor mummy's grandbaby rabies. I think a couple of sessions with a therapist will be helpful. Am I the asshole here for having heard so many different versions of this before and just wanting people to railroad the husband with an ultimatum and be like, look at all the disrespect that you allowed, you facilitate, and you also enable? Because what the hell was that backyard goddamn Better Homes and Gardens bullshit that your mom's pulling on me? Seriously, what's going on? Where are all my friends? Where's my generation? Am I in the boomer brigade? Obviously not to downplay boomers, but if you surround OP with geriatrics and not people... sorry, I'm so sorry. And not people of OP's generation, that's not going to go down well. Yes, make my baby shower all about you. Because if you think about it logically, your baby's birth and existence is actually all about me. This is my time to shine. Not you guys, not the baby. What about my garden and my 300 bags of mulch, huh? I just don't get it. I don't think OP's the asshole for not wanting mother-in-law's help once the baby is born. She sounds like a demon. I hate her already. She is a vile, disgusting woman, and her presence is going to send OP to the psych ward through the sheer brain damage that her face and her attitude will cause to OP. So no, not the asshole, but you gotta pull that man into place, somehow, some way. And now, on to the update. Thank you for all the advice. After taking a few days to chew on your responses and feedback from my family, I decided to take a page from my mother-in-law's book and take over her garden party. I invited about 50 of my own guests from my generation, had my sister cook food that I can eat, which is challenging with gestational diabetes, and ordered decorations that actually say baby shower. I went no contact with mother-in-law until today. She began to discuss the baby shower and what I was planning to change, but I cut her off, stating that I couldn't handle the stress and would just let my sister handle everything tomorrow. I also told her that her son should be the point of contact because we do not want to stress out the baby. I also plan to have my son stay with me for a day in the hospital, and my 2 older sisters will both take a day instead of his family. That's it for now. We'll update after the shower tomorrow. And as of this recording, it's been 3 days. They have not come back to update. I'm so sorry. In the comments, Lata Addicted says, I read your original post, and I feel I hate your husband. What a piece of shit for treating you like this. I'm sorry, but it seems that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I'm so sorry you had to deal with his bullying on top of his mother's bullying. I'm glad you have your family's support though. Take care, OP. I second this. Your husband's a complete arse and terrible partner. Set the boundaries now. The end. I can't wait for the update after the shower. Mother-in-law is gonna lose her mind, and it will be glorious. Good on OP for taking control right out of her hands. How has your husband reacted to all of this? He seemed unsupportive of you in your last post. OP says, he knows and has chosen to go along with whatever I say or deal with my manipulative tears that I can use on demand. I'm not going out. Right. Does he know about any of the scheming that OP has done? I mean, good for her, but that's gonna go really poorly if he doesn't know. OP says he knows and realizes he needs to get in line or he too will be on the chopping block. Damn, alright OP. Assumption Fast says, I've never wanted to be invited to a baby shower more in my life. Also, your husband sucks and needs to cut the umbilical cord. What is it with men and their mothers these days? I have a son, and I swear if he was clingy like some of these, I'd be horrified. OP says, this has sparked convos with my son about him respecting me while taking his partner's side over mine's. God damn, another strong, independent person with a spine. You love to see it, OP. Thank God she is taking the advice of the commenters and whipping that man into place because yeah, He did disrespect her. His behavior towards her was that of a bully, and it was disgusting. And it's about damn time that he gets some consequences for his actions. Because yes, that marriage will be on the chopping block if he continues to side with his dearest mother, his lovely little mother who can do no wrong, with her better homes and gardens bullshit. I say chuck 'em both in the flaming basket of assholes and be done with them, but hey, we gotta let reason take over. We've gotta be nice to people. We gotta give them second and third chances. That's all good. Thank you, OP, for doing that and getting him in place. I respect you, and I look forward to the next update. Thank you for the story. Am I the asshole here for not planning anything for Father's Day after my husband ruined my first Mother's Day? I'm 98.7% sure that I'm not the asshole here, but if I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it and learn from my mistakes. Our little boy will be 1 late this summer, so this was the first Mother's and Father's Day for both me and my husband. My husband asked what I wanted for Mother's Day. I didn't want or need anything big or expensive. What I asked for is for my husband to get up with the little guy and get him fed while I pumped and chilled. Breakfast in bed, just toast, scrambled eggs, and coffee. For us to take the little guy to the zoo for the first time. This was the main thing that I was looking forward to, and to go to my favorite taco place for dinner. Between morning and afternoon naps, we have about 4 hours of awake time. The zoo is about 30 minutes away, so I'd figured that if we left as soon as he got up from his nap and ate, we'd have a couple of hours at the zoo, and worst case, he could sleep in the car on the way home. We took my mum and my mother-in-law out to brunch the prior weekend to celebrate them, his mum on Saturday and my mum on Sunday. I also got them each a thoughtful little present and flowers to celebrate their first Mother's Day as grandparents. I arranged everything and told my mum and mother-in-law that we'd be celebrating on the actual day with just our little family, and sent them a group chat, which included my husband, my dad, and father-in-law, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. My mother-in-law is very pushy and overbearing, so I didn't want there to be any surprises or confusion. The Saturday before Mother's Day, father-in-law sent my husband a text with a picture of all the mulch that he just had delivered and said something like, "Gonna be a busy weekend," or something like that. Apparently, he had 300 bags of mulch. They have a big yard with lots of flower beds. That night, my mother-in-law called my husband and asked him to come over first thing in the morning to help his dad move the bags of mulch to where they were going to be used. She said since we weren't going to the zoo until after the little guy's nap, that husband could go over and help for a couple of hours and then come pick us up to go to the zoo. I was obviously not happy, but she guilted him and said father-in-law was going to end up hurting himself if he moved all of that by himself, and that it's not a big deal and it should only take an hour or 2. I told him his mum was doing this to try and get us to skip our plans and spend the day with them, but he kept saying that it's not a big deal, saying his mum promised it would only take a couple of hours, etc., etc. I think most people know what happened. Husband went over first thing, which means no breakfast in bed, and I had to get up to feed the little guy. I was kinda pissed, but whatever. Spent time with the little guy, and then he went down for his morning nap. I texted my husband to let him know that he should start wrapping things up. Then when little guy woke up 2 hours later, I called husband to tell him that I'd be ready to go as soon as I finished feeding the little guy. He told me that it was taking longer than expected, but that he would hurry. Like an hour and a half later, husband called and said they weren't done, but he was getting ready to come home. It's a 15 to 20-minute drive from mother-in-law and father-in-law's house. At that point, we had missed the window to make it to the zoo, so I told him to just stay there and finish, and not worry about Mother's Day since he hadn't done a single thing I asked for. I don't think there was any doubt in his mind how pissed I was. A little while later, his mum called and said that since we decided not to go to the zoo, that me and the little guy should go hang out with her while the boys finished with the mulch. I admit that I was pretty pissy and told her that I had no interest in spending time with the people who decided to ruin my first Mother's Day. I ended up staying home and ordering a pizza and binging Netflix. When husband got home, he was all apologetic and asked how he could make up for it. I was still pissed and told him that he could make it up by not ruining my first Mother's Day. I also told him he should plan on spending Father's Day with his mum and dad because me and the little guy were going to go celebrate Father's Day with my mum and dad. Since Mother's Day, mother-in-law has been texting and calling, but I've been keeping conversations short and just giving very bland, generic responses. My husband has been apologizing and asking what he can do, but honestly, I don't want to bother. I know it's just a day and we can celebrate any time, like we did with my mum and mother-in-law, but it was my first ever Mother's Day. And it's not like I asked for anything expensive or difficult. The only difficult thing is he's incapable of setting boundaries with his mum, and she's incapable of considering anyone else's feelings but her own. This past Saturday, he asked if I was still going to my parents, and then said that he'd like to go with us. I told him he could do whatever he wanted, but since I hadn't done anything for his dad, he might want to go see him or something. We did both end up going to my parents and spending the day with them. It was actually a nice day. My dad insisted on grilling because of course he did, but the weather ended up being nice, and we spent a lot of time hanging out on their deck, playing with the little guy. I'm not sure what, if anything, my husband did for his dad. I know he was getting a lot of texts during the day, I assume from his mum. She did send me a snippy text saying that it was hurtful to spend the day with my family at the expense of husband's, but I told her that she got to spend Mother's Day with her baby boy, so it's only fair that I spend Father's Day with my family. I know my husband was hurt that we didn't acknowledge him for Father's Day, but I told him while we were driving to my parents' house that I'm just matching his energy. I admit that I haven't done anything to de-escalate the drama, but I'm just still so hurt that he continues to prioritize his mum's feelings over our little family. This isn't the first time that his mum has done crap like this, and I'm just so tired of it. She always oversteps and insists on doing what she wants. I'm doing better at keeping her at an arm's length and holding my own boundaries, but my husband is absolutely incapable of it. In the comments, 13 Surgeries says, "Your husband has clearly decided having a pissed-off wife is preferable to having a pissed-off mother. The very first time he knew his dad had bought 300 bags of mulch, holy dooly, does he own Rhode Island or something? Your husband should have said, 'I wish I could help you, but we have plans for Mother's Day.' When his mum said it would only take an hour or two, he should have responded, 'Our plans are all day.' The mulch could have waited. If he can afford a yard that big, he can afford someone to dump the mulch. What's wild is that he puts the planning of her makeup Mother's Day on her. Like, sure, he said he's sorry, but he's done zero on his own to actually correct the situation. Continue to match his energy until you see genuine effort to change and prioritize you. Yeah, he already had it extremely easy by being told exactly what to do in the first place. The 300 bags of mulch could have sat in the driveway until such a time when it wasn't Mother's Day. It's not radioactive, it's mulch. Coulda waited. Not the arsehole. Who orders 300 bags of mulch? Anything even close to a quarter of that size, and you're ordering it by the yard, and it's dumped in a pile by a truck. Not the arsehole. But as they say in the Just No Mother-in-Law sub, you don't have a mother-in-law problem, you have a husband problem. This is only going to continue until he grows a spine. Yup, this OP. You need to have a clear conversation with your husband about the problem. His inability to set boundaries with his mother. The options he has, and what your limits are. You're showing a great spine now, but do you have a stop point? A breaking point? Are you content to stay married to him if every holiday will either be both of you with his family, his mother blowing up phones because you're not there, or spending them separately? If not, how many chances does husband get before the divorce papers come out? Husband will likely need therapy to learn boundaries, because it sounds like he never separated from his mother or learned that her wishes and needs are not his own. You might want to set this as a condition to remain married or another reason to divorce. Ultimately, he has to decide who is more important in his life, and you have to base your reaction on his decision. I'm sorry, I know it's hard, especially when he has to decide if he's going from mummy's boy to low contact. Hopefully common sense prevails. I'm with you on that one. This is definitely a him problem. And it doesn't always come from a place of malice, where he is intentionally choosing her because he hates you. There does fortunately exist a universe where he has just become so conditioned to it that he's unable to break this cycle, and he's choosing you as the victim that should not rock the boat. Unlike that other Mother's Day story that we had, which pissed me off to no end, where he sent OP off on Mother's Day to Disneyland or something. It was a theme park, and he as the father had Mother's Day to himself, and then OP did the same to him on Father's Day, and he lost his goddamn mind and said it wasn't the same. That's when it's malicious. That's when it's just straight breakup and go for amicable co-parenting if possible. I would like to believe in my heart of hearts that OP's husband here is just damaged, that he doesn't know how to say no, that he is a people pleaser with no spine. And it's unfortunate that it's led to so much heartbreak as it is now, but I do think you need to continue matching his energy. You need to push for him to see things from your perspective and to fix the situation before you have to issue an ultimatum to him. You're not an asshole for not planning anything for Father's Day. He asked for it, he deserves it, and frankly, he deserves more. What he did to you was disgusting. And now, onto the update. This weekend, the husband and I sat down and talked about everything. I expressed to him how incredibly upset and disappointed I was at how both Mother's Day and Father's Day went down. I really wanted to recognize and celebrate my husband for Father's Day every bit as much as I hoped he would recognize and celebrate me for Mother's Day. He said he knew he shouldn't have gone to his parents on Mother's Day, but didn't know what to do since his mum was pressuring him and saying if his dad got hurt, it would be my husband's fault. He admitted that he knew he messed up and has been terrified that I was going to ask for a divorce. Since he cut to the chase, I told him that if this is how our life is going to be, I don't want to stay married to him. I explained to him that I realized that while yes, I was upset about what happened on Mother's Day, that isn't what is making me feel this way. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. This kind of behavior from his mum has been happening since before we got engaged and is just escalated. This has been happening for years. As someone here suggested, I had listed all of the times and events that I could remember that she had overstepped or just completely ruined. For our frickin' honeymoon, she called him twice a day. Every morning to find out our plans for the day, and then every evening to hear how the day went. Plus the constant texting, asking for pictures, telling him how much she missed him. I don't know how I thought this was acceptable. She tried to make our wedding about herself, tried to make my pregnancy about herself, tried to take over when we brought our son home, just constantly inserting herself and overstepping. I told him that I don't really want to get divorced right now, but it's going to happen anyway. I'd rather get divorced now while we can still do it amicably, because if nothing changes, I'm going to end up so angry and resentful that it would make divorce very contentious, and I don't want that for our son. At this point, we were both crying, upset, and emotional. So I told him that I'll give him some time to decide what he's going to do, but if I don't see clear effort being made to start prioritizing me and our son, that I'd move forward with the divorce. And the change has to continue. Every time we've fought about this in the past, he promised he'll change, and sometimes he has, but then his mum pulls him back into her orbit. If we are to stay married, these are some of the things that I'm insisting on in no particular order. We each own the relationship with our own parents. That means I'm not planning anything for his parents anymore. No cards, no presents, no brunches or parties, no pictures, nothing. If his parents reach out to me, I'm going to redirect them to him. I'm not entertaining or visiting with his parents when he's not around. I'm not taking our son over to theirs by myself, and if they drop by, I'm not inviting them in unless my husband is there. I'm not changing my plans at the last minute just because they decided to drop by without coordinating with us in advance or because they want us to do something with them. Neither of us makes plans with our parents or accepts invitations until we discuss it with our partner, and if we both don't agree, then we don't do it. We don't throw each other under the bus. We just say something like, We checked our schedule and we're not available. Holidays like Christmas, Halloween, Easter, etc. are at our house. We can discuss inviting our parents, but we're not going to someone else's house to celebrate something involving our son when we can do it at home. This includes his first birthday, which mother-in-law is trying to take over and plan. Other holidays, we are alternate between our parents, and we will focus on being present. That means no more texting/talking to his mum non-stop when we are with my parents. No more oversharing with mother-in-law. She doesn't need to know about our finances or health/medical issues or vacation plans or anything unless we both agree that it's something we want to share. His visits to his parents can't be at the expense of spending quality time with me and our son. I don't mind him visiting his parents, but he's over there a couple of times a week. We are his immediate family now. We should get priority. We are not doing things just because she said we should, and we're not changing our plans just because she doesn't like them. She really doesn't understand that wrong and different are not the same thing. In her mind, if we're not doing what she wants, how she wants, then we are in the wrong. He needs to go to therapy with someone specializing in enmeshment, and we need to start going to couples therapy. I didn't even realize that I have so much pent-up resentment that I can't look at my husband the same anymore. I'm just angry at him all the time, and I hate being this way. When it comes to our son, our word, husband and me, is law. If she disregards or minimizes our decisions for our son, then she loses access until she learns to behave. When me or my husband say no to either set of parents, the other person will support them and back them up. That means my husband has to stop trying to get me to agree with his mum all the time. I can tell that he's freaked out and really stressed about the idea of putting hard boundaries in place or distancing from his parents, and I do feel for him. He said he feels like he's caught between a rock and a hard place, and that me and his mum are both putting a ton of pressure on him and both have conflicting expectations. And that's fine. He just needs to understand that I'm not tolerating this anymore. I know this will cause an absolute shitstorm with his parents, but I feel like if we don't do it now, it'll just be harder down the road. What does everyone think? Am I being unreasonable? Are there other boundaries that we should put in place? In the comments, Percentage Bitter says, I think you should remind him that if you divorce, he will have the same problem with the next person. Does he feel ready to keep having his parents ruin his relationships? OP says, that is an excellent point. I think his mum is at least partially responsible for some of his earlier relationships ending. I'll make sure to point this out. Save that comment for couples therapy and neutral space. You're not being unreasonable at all. These boundaries are about respect and protecting your peace. You've given him a clear chance to step up, and that's more than fair. You need a timeline. Can't say do all of this, and then in a year say, hey, you didn't check box 3 and 4, I'm out. By September, we'll have a counseling session together, and he had 2 on his own, and we had a family trip, just the 3 of you, to the seaside or something. Put dates down. So by New Year's, if things haven't improved, you can call a lawyer. OP says, that's an excellent idea. He did seem overwhelmed, and admittedly, it is a lot. I wouldn't expect it all at once, but this is where we have to end up, and I have to see progress and change. I'll sit down with him again tonight and start having that conversation. I want him to be successful. I want us to be successful, and I'm willing to put the work in and to also help support him, but he will need to do the same. Buttered Crumpet replies, you know, the thing that would do it for me is him saying he feels caught between a rock and a hard place. He knows he's hurt you. You've now told him all the things his mother has done that have hurt you. He knows his mother is damaging his marriage, and he knows that you will leave him if he will not change, and yet still he's torn. Still, it's some kind of quandary for him as to what to do. He's been given the choice between saving his marriage by setting and maintaining healthy boundaries with his mother, or further destroying his marriage and causing his son to grow up in a broken home by refusing to sever the umbilical cord tying him to his mother. And he still isn't sure what to do. I think him saying he's torn is because he hopes you'll feel guilty and back down because he knows his mummy won't change and he cares more about being attached to her than about saving his marriage. I agree, there needs to be a timeline, but I also think he needs to understand that you are serious here. You will divorce him if he continues to place his mother ahead of you and your son. That means he will no longer have a wife. He will only get to be with his son 50% of the time, and he will have to start over all by himself. If he's really willing to lose out on 100% of your marriage and 50% of your son's childhood because he's too afraid to stand up to his mother, that is certainly his choice, but it would be a stupid one. After all, he's risking his marriage and being a full-time dad for his mother, a woman who wasn't even willing to let him have a honeymoon in peace. If he's willing to throw away everything for a mother who refuses to consider anyone but herself, he deserves to wind up alone with nothing but his mummy and his regrets to keep him company. I'm sorry to be so harsh, and I do recognize that he has a tough choice and his mother has conditioned him to be this way, but that rock and place line really got me. Your marriage is on fire, and he is genuinely struggling to decide whether he should grab the fire extinguisher or the lighter fluid. I agree with this comment. It's a tell that his first response was, "Woe is me, I'm caught in the middle." That's not confidence inspiring, and in fact, it's the husband signaling further retreat and non-alignment with the program. In other words, husband is just too big of a pussy to change. I expect husband to immediately cave with his mum and further conflict will arise. Very sorry. OP seems nice and is not the asshole. Took the words right out of my mouth in this instance, but at the same time, I'm hopeful. I do think that if you can serve him all of this reality that he has been in denial of this whole time, there is, I think, a very good chance that he does see how much his behavior has caused the downfall of his marriage, and show that he can fix this. If he's able to grapple with the reality that his mum has destroyed and dismantled all of his previous relationships and will continue to do so in the future, surely that's enough of a slap in the face to be like, hey, something's got to give, I've got to change. But as we've seen in stories like this, and stories that come from the Just No Mother-in-Law subreddit, it doesn't always play out that way. You can lead a man away from his toxic mother, but you can't make him want to stay away from her. Anyway, I wish you good luck with all of that, OP. Thank you for the story. That's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.